Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
One of the situations arose of me threatening to call the cops because somebody I'd never seen before walked into the house. She told me I had 30 days to get out.
Johnny came over. Apparently Johnny got a haircut.
Had you seen Johnny before?
Maybe once or twice, but
That haircut was that drastic? In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. Did you slap him?
I did slap him.
Stop. In that scenario, who should pay for it? Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. You don't provoke people when they're dealing with issues involving their mental health. Now, as a parent, that's the takeaway.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Christy Ward claims she let her tenant stay beyond a 30-day notice to vacate and says he still owes her for the extra days. Ms. Ward is suing Leonard Baker in the amount of $405.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties have been sworn, Your Honor.
Get up in his office. Ms. Ward.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. You want that $405 back because you gave notice to Mr. Baker and there was a disagreement as to how many days before he actually was going to move.
Correct, Your Honor.
Explain to me what was the relationship in terms of you're the landlord, he's the tenant.
Sure. I'm a chemical engineer by profession. I just want to add that. I do landlady on the side.
Okay.
So I was his landlady. In my Venice Beach, California home, have a 5-bedroom home. I'm renting rooms out. You know,
All
rent is
five, or you
expensive.
just rented
I like
the
to
other
keep them
4?
all filled.
You're not in the house.
I'm in the house, but I travel a lot with work.
All right. And what's the amount?
I rent them for $785 a month plus utilities, which is slightly under $100.
Okay. And Mr. Baker, you were interested in renting one of the rooms.
yes, sir. My father and her go way back, and so I came out here to pursue music while I'm a barista.
You were aware that you were going to have to pay $785 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how long did you reside there, sir?
8 months.
And then what happened after the 8 months?
Well, Your Honor, the whole time Mr. Baker, if we could call him that, Leonard, was in my property, all he did was complain. There was one occasion while I was in San Diego traveling for work, and I got a call from one of the other roommates saying that Mr. Baker was threatening to call the police on her boyfriend.
All right, Mr. Baker, did you find yourself complaining about situations at the house that you felt were unsustainable?
Your Honor, I found myself complaining about things that went on in the house that were just, quite frankly, irresponsible.
Give me the first example.
For one of the smaller examples that led up to this, was there were multiple people in the house that I wasn't aware of. I was aware it was going to be me and 4 others. And,
okay. When you say multiple people, well, we know that there's 4 different individuals in 4 different rooms. Mm-hmm. So that's 4 people right there.
Yes, but they would have friends over all the time. It was 4 people.
You couldn't foresee that would be the reality of people living all together in that sort of environment?
Thank you.
Well,
they're not allowed to see people and have them come over and come back and forth?
It was just constantly, for days at a time.
This was your first experience doing this, huh?
Yes,
okay.
Your Honor.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because personally, I couldn't live in a house with 4 different people with different personalities and different rooms. And that's kind of like college. How old are you, sir?
I'm 23.
Okay, so did you go to college?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, that's why some people love living in a dorm. And some people are like, oh, hell no.
That's right.
Right? And was this your first experience living away from home?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Even it's becoming very clear to me. That was one of the examples. Give me another.
Another example was the loud music all through the night. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. They were blaring loud music, heavy metal. I'm not a fan of that kind of music.
All right. And I take it at 4 o'clock in the morning when they were doing all that, you weren't even there.
No, I was, of course, I would not let that behavior go on late at night. No, anytime I was there, everyone was very respectful. Everyone was respectful. And what I would do is when I first met Mr. Baker, I let him know that a situation may arise where people would have friends over, significant others.
Other young people as well?
No, it's mainly significant others around the same age as myself and the other roommates in the house.
All right.
And I let him know there were several cats there too, which he didn't have a problem with.
That would be a deal breaker for me, I'm just saying. All right, anything else?
Yeah, it was with all those people at the house, Your Honor. I would go grocery shopping and I would bring a bunch of groceries for myself, and everybody would just eat them within the first 2 days of me having them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was.
But you stayed there for 8 months.
Yes.
Because?
It's $7.85 in California.
And boom goes the dynamite, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
There it is. So there were some things that were positives, but the negatives were outweighing them.
Yes.
Whose decision was it to leave?
It was hers.
Coming up on America's Court.
Johnny is Marina's boyfriend. She said Johnny came over and Leonard said he was going to call the police. Well, apparently Johnny got a haircut.
Had you seen Johnny before?
Maybe once or twice, but
That haircut was that drastic?
And later.
You know, as we kept digging, we kept planting our fence. I went to work one day, came back, and noticed that my fence had been damaged.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Christy Ward, who is suing Leonard Baker for unpaid rent.
You wanted to stay in that situation?
I didn't necessarily want to stay, but one of the situations arose of me threatening to call the cops because somebody I'd never seen before walked into the house, and she told me I had 30 days to get out.
What happened in that situation?
Marina called me desperately in the middle of the night. I saw the phone number. I answered. I said, what is the problem? She said, Johnny came over and Leonard said he was going to call the police. Well, apparently Johnny got a haircut and Leonard had only seen him.
Who's Johnny?
Johnny is Marina's boyfriend. I told my tenants.
You didn't recognize Johnny?
I did not recognize Johnny.
No.
Had you seen Johnny before?
Maybe once or twice, but
That haircut was that drastic?
there were so many people in the house that I didn't even pay attention. I just
Okay.
kinda
And
secluded
there's always
myself.
a reason.
You were
for
like,
that.
it's time to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want the police at my house late at night. I'm sure you wouldn't either.
All right. You gave him notice. Did you put it in writing?
I did. Well,
How did you set this up with these other housemates?
we always
everybody,
had a verbal lease. I've never had any issues before.
You
It's
always
always
had a
been
verbal
month
lease.
to month. It's
Verbal
been 30
month
days.
to month. I'm listening while you're
Yep,
talking.
no,
so
it's
we're
been a
good.
verbal 30 days lease, month to month. I've never had any issues with the tenants
You're not
before.
disputing that it was verbal and month to month.
It was verbal and month to month.
And you
Yes,
were
Your
okay
Honor.
with that.
Yes, Your Honor.
But when it was time to tell the person bye-bye,
Yeah.
you would put it in writing.
I would. I had contacted an attorney many years prior,
Smart.
and he had told me that if I did ever arise in a situation like that,
Especially in California. They're
Especially in
very-
California.
And Los Angeles area, they don't play when it comes
and he
to
actually
tenants' rights.
Yeah, he guided me through, and I filled out a 30-day
I'll show it. I'll take a look
notice
at
to
it.
vacate. Can I just mention, Your Honor, that I did add on here the additional 12 days?
Well, we haven't gotten to that, but I know
Okay.
that's coming.
Sure.
Because by law in California, if you're in a month-to-month lease, at a minimum, the landlord must provide 30 days notice, and it must be in writing.
Right.
If the tenant wants to move out, they must put it in writing and also say 30 days. Did you know that?
Yes, Your Honor. I
All
knew
right,
that.
good. There was a question as to whether or not 30 days was enough time.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I was going to be traveling with my family. We had a family situation come arise, and I was going to be traveling with them.
Okay.
And so I didn't know if 30 days would quite cut it because I was going to be out for 2 weeks out of that one 30-day period.
All right, so what I'm seeing here is you were given notice on the 1st. You were told you had until the 11th,
Correct.
which is 42 days. And was that 42 days based on you needing the additional time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you ask her, if you're going to let me go, can I at least have until the 11th of February?
I just said I might need an extra 2 weeks or so because I'd be out for 2 weeks.
And based on that representation, Ms. Ward put it in the contract
Yes, Your Honor.
and gave it to you.
Yes.
Now, she gave you until the 11th. When did you actually move out?
I left on January 30th.
And on January the 30th, your feeling was, I'm within the 30 days, we're good.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes? I read something about another tenant was ready.
I did have another tenant ready, but since I knew Mr. Baker and knew his family, in in my heart, it was the honest thing to give him the extra time if he needed. I understand it's short notice,
Right.
and I was trying to
Your
be a
other tenant
reasonable
was
human.
supposed to move in when?
They moved in on the 15th.
Of the 15th of February.
Of February, sorry, Your
He
Honor.
was going to be out by the 11th. You had a couple of days,
We had
and
about
then you
4
were going
days,
to.
give or take, and I was fine with that, but I
Okay.
was expecting the payment up until the 11th.
The question is whether or not Mr. Baker should pay from the 31st of January
Yep.
and February 1st through the 11th, 12 days.
Yeah.
Is that the $405?
That is. I have also attached some utilities if you want to see
Yes.
the breakdown. That and the rent,
What is
the
that?
water.
405 also include
It's
utilities?
included in that, yes. And then I also have some if you want to see later. I did ask him about texts.
Yep, I can take a look at everything.
Perfect. I text him, you'll notice, and he didn't respond.
Mr. Baker, she's got all this stuff in writing. What do you have in writing, sir?
Your Honor, I have legal reasons for eviction right here.
Okay.
And nowhere on it does it say a reason for evicting someone is because they're annoying. Sure, I have a 30-day notice.
No, nothing says that you can evict someone because they're annoying. You are in a verbal month-to-month. What is it that you're contesting? If you're in a verbal agreement with someone and you're living month-to-month, all they have to do by law is give you 30 days notice. It doesn't have to be for a reason. Just like she put everything in writing, if you felt you wanted to leave in 30 days, you should have put that in writing. But from what I understand, you went a few weeks before telling her, no, I'm going to be good by the 30th. You don't have anything documenting what your position is, because either party in a verbal month-to-month can give 30 days. But at a minimum, you must give 30 days. So based on the evidence and testimony before this court, the gavel must come down in favor of Ms. Ward, the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You being 23, I get it. You know, I mean, I'm impressed with the fact that you did some research. But we start with put things in writing.
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you're going to be a musician, whatever your artistry is, get in the habit of signing things and putting them in writing so you don't find yourself at a disadvantage. All right? Judgment in the amount of $405. That is the order. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $405.
I'm sorry Leonard had to learn this lesson this way, but the law is the law.
The next place I rent, I'm either going to get it in writing or I'm going to live alone.
Coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
When we decided to build the fence, because we knew that when we purchased the house, we would replace that old raggedy thing with our new vinyl, we noticed that their garden was on our land.
I thought he'd respect our sweat equity and the work.
He doesn't.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross. John Nicholas claims his fence was damaged after he asked the church next door to remove a garden that was over the property line. Mr. Nicholas is suing Mateo Rivas in the amount of $4,000.
All right, Mr. Nicholas, sir, there's a $4,000 dispute here involving a fence, correct?
Correct.
Prove your case.
Me and my wife, we were looking for a house, so we
Yes.
decided to move to East Los Angeles. It's a very nice neighborhood, it's well established.
All right.
I'm going to have a baby soon. Be first
Congratulations.
parent.
And your first one.
First
huh?
one.
Do you know the sex of the baby?
It's a girl.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay.
So, we saw this house for sale next door to a church, and we thought it would be great to live next door to a church.
How long have you been living at the house now?
5-6 months.
Mr. Rivas, you represent the church, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you the pastor of the church? Or?
I am the co-pastor. My
You're
wife
the
and I
co-pastor. Who's the other pastor?
My wife.
The issue that you had, as it turns out, was something about where the construction actually was taking place of the new fence.
Correct.
Because the construction previously with the wooden fence, there was a distinct boundary line.
Distinct-ish.
Why ish?
When we decided to build the fence, because we knew that when we purchased the house, we would replace that old raggedy thing with our new vinyl, we did some research to see where our property line was, and we noticed that their garden, 2 feet of their garden to be exact, was on our land.
I thought he'd respect our sweat equity and the work we
He
did.
doesn't.
And the outreach we were doing with the vegetables and the herbs in the garden to the neighborhood.
He doesn't feel connected to any of that at all.
Right, I understand.
I take it.
No, not
Not at
as
all.
Of now, no.
You're like, this is my property line. I'm going to put the fence where by law I'm entitled to have the property.
Correct.
Coming up on America's Court.
I went to work one day, came back, and noticed that my fence had been damaged. I have pictures right here. There are holes punched in it. I also got a note on the door saying, "This is God's work."
This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of John Nicholas, who is suing Mateo Rivas for property damage.
Mr. Rivas' response to that was?
He didn't like it very much, along with a few other members
of the church.
Of the church.
How did the other members get involved in this?
I mean, like I said, they were there before we got there.
Right.
I respected that. However, I felt that they should respect the fact that I worked hard, put my own sweat and equity into saving the money to buying my first house. Correct.
Okay.
And it's
not like you're doing anything illegal, or
no.
I mean, if it's your property, it's your property.
Correct.
Okay.
So we decided to put our fence up and proceeded. As we kept digging, we kept planting our fence. I went to work one day, came back, and noticed that my fence had been damaged. So
how so?
I have pictures right here. There are holes punched in it next to where the garden was.
Anything else you want to give the judge?
I also got a note on the door saying that I should be ashamed from the church members. And then the next day, this one says, "This is God's work."
The $4,000 is the removal of the old fence and the replacement of the new.
Yes.
You were already going to be paying that because you had decided that's how you were going to proceed with the new property line.
Yes.
Okay. And then we have
the notes that were left on my door. It really bothered my wife.
And it was the same day that the damage was seen on the fence?
No. The first note I got, the one that said you should be ashamed, came the next day. And then the one that said
the next day after
I discovered that the holes were punched into my fence.
Okay.
It was on the door in the morning. I leave early in the morning for work, and my wife
And then the second note, "This is God's work."
That came the following day.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
I don't have sufficient proof to establish that either Mr. Rivas, his wife, or a particular member of that church community caused this damage. I know you suffered a loss. It's very disturbing to me that sometimes the very people who claim to be Christian and spiritual are the very ones that are struggling with the demons that overtake that philosophy.
Correct.
I'm also a firm believer in karma. And Mr. Rivas, given these notes, I think that there may be more conversations with the church, including inviting the couple over. I mean, they're a young family trying to have a home in California, which is expensive, and they're having a daughter, and this is what they have to deal with? You're going to have to work this out, but otherwise, Mr. Nicholas, unless you can bring me some proof, your burden can't be sustained here. I'm going to have to dismiss your matter. That is the order. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed.
I am pleased with the judge's decision that the church didn't have to pay for the fence, but I will help my neighbor repair it.
I agree with the judge that I can't hold 50 people accountable, but I still hope he's willing to help me fix my fence.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter. This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.